Welcome back to Mystique Femininity, the sanctuary where women like you come to remember your softness, reconnect with your sacred presence, and reimagine your life as something exquisitely yours. I'm your host, Christian Simone. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about something that many of us may have felt, but rarely do we say out loud. I'm going to say the thing that we're thinking, but I'm going to do it out loud. There's a quiet moment in your life in the morning when you are standing in front of the mirror. You're doing your skincare, getting yourself together, and you catch yourself and you look in the mirror like, who is this person I'm seeing? Where did her glow go? Where is the beautiful woman that I used to see in the mirror? And I'm going to go even a step further because there are women out there that may have this particular mind thought stream, which is, I've never felt beautiful. Why is it I'm doing all these things and I have never felt beautiful? When do I begin to activate that piece of me? Now, I just want to say and start out by noting that this feeling, this thought stream is not about the physical, but it's energetically. Something energetically feels off. Something feels missing. And if you do feel this way, I want to let you know that you're not alone and you are not broken and you are not ugly. It is a time and a moment for you to just return to self, because when we are in this hustle and bustle to continue performing in life, it is very easy for us to neglect our energetic hygiene and of the divine sort. And when that happens, just like anything that you neglect over time, it begins to degrade and you find that it's not working in the way that it used to. And so that'll be what we discuss today. I hope that if this resonates with you, you will share this with a friend and really take heed to the message. Now, I want to first out name what this feeling is, because you cannot resolve issues unless you can name them. If not, it just continues to go through you as this very vague but very real feeling until you can articulate it. So, beauty as embodiment. What I've come to understand is that beauty, that real deep beauty, it isn't about self-maintenance. So you can watch all these self-care maintenance on YouTube or TikTok that you want to, and you can do all those things. You can spend $4,000 or $5,000 every month to do maintenance, but still not feel beautiful. And the reason is that beauty is a sacred embodiment. It is not about adornment. It is about embodiment. Now, I will say that embodiment in this day and age is not something that every woman feels safe in being, because there is so much that will compensate you for essentially opting out of this embodiment. It's not just how you look. It's how you are. It is your essence. But here's what happens. We start doing all the things that we're told to do. We drink water, we buy the $500 body cream, and we hit the gym. We've checked the boxes, like we've done the things. But slowly, this just becomes a performance. It slowly just becomes another thing to do on our to-do list. It's a routine. And that is when beauty stops feeling like a sacred ritual and starts feeling like pressure. There was a time in which I wore makeup anytime I left the house. I could not go anywhere without having on something, be it a tinted moisturizer and some blush, or a full face, lashes, the whole nine. And I remember there used to be a time where I loved makeup. I loved everything, every aspect of beauty that was out. But then there became a time in which I just felt tired of it. And so I would take breaks from wearing it until I essentially felt like, I'm tired of looking like this, and would change up. But looking back at that versus now, where I get excited to put on my makeup. It's pretty much ties with me getting up in the morning and slowly doing my skincare, making my coffee with my little Godiva chocolate and enjoying my coffee. The next thing is, after enjoying my coffee, it's makeup time. Oh, I can't wait to try this new makeup I bought. Or dusting something off that I haven't used in a while. There is a level of joy doing versus feeling like, oh, let me do my makeup, God, because I feel I have to. A performance. And the performance often is because we feel that in order for outside validation. Like, if I don't wear my makeup, then no one's going to look at me. No one's going to say I'm pretty. And therefore, I must put this on. I must do these things versus it being what you want, what makes you happy. Now, there is a theme with presence and performance. When these things start to interact, we start to have a level of feminine disconnect, and that disconnection is really, either this podcast is out or it's already come out. But a lot of what we consider burnout these days is not burnout, it's disconnection. And it's on that energetic level. And that is a very deep thing. This disconnect often is sneaky. You will be still doing your same rituals. You will be doing all your things. But then there will be this switch where something feels hollow. That spark that you once had is gone. The magnetism is basically muted. Because you're no longer present with yourself. You're just getting through the things. And this is why it's so important to check in with yourself. I highly suggest, if you are listening to this podcast, that's already letting me know that you are a different type of babe. I would highly suggest that you do a check-in daily with yourself in the morning or in the evening. Like, how am I doing? Did I do something today that brought me joy? Or do I have something planned today to make that happen? Because it's so easy to be in this mode of taking care of everyone else and neglecting your own cup. And then because you're so busy with other people, you don't notice that you're on E. Yet you are still expecting and demanding yourself to do the things in the same way. When you go from reverence of doing what you do to it just being a routine, your body understands that something is off and therefore it engages with you accordingly. Your energy becomes dull, and it's not because you're aging. And you may be, we're all aging. We've been aging since we were born. But it's because you've stopped that relationship with yourself. And it's not about putting yourself together, doing some extensive overhaul. It's about you being present versus performing. Now, the real reason why you feel burnt out in that disconnection, this is a real deep truth that I had to learn the hard way. Doing everything right does not equate that it feels good. So many women in their midlife are very spiritually and emotionally starved, very malnutritioned, very malnourished while trying to do everything right. You become efficient, not embodied. You're reliable, but there is no radiance. It's like the old saying, you cannot work out a bad diet. This also applies. You cannot outperform a lack of embodiment. You cannot outperform embodiment, that sacred embodiment. You cannot do that. And that is where there is this huge disconnect in your life. And when you're living in a performance mode, especially as a feminine being, your feminine essence slowly gets buried under survival tactics. And the real burnout isn't on just the physical plane, but it's on a soul level disconnection. The truth in your feminine radiance is that it is not a result, it is a frequency. So if you're someone who is very metrics focused, which I've discussed many times, when we're hyper focused about results, outcomes, metrics, we are heavily in our masculine, which again, there is a need for a balance of the two. because metrics are great. It gives us some sort of kind of indicators of where we're going or what we're doing, or what we're doing is yielding what we're desiring. So there's not a negative connotation there. But if that's all you're focused on, then you're lacking the creativity and the ingenuity that one gets from their feminine flow. But radiance is not a result. It is a frequency. It is the natural byproduct of a woman who is present in her body, in love with her life, not because it's perfect, but because she's keenly aware and that she's in the driver's seat of dictating where her life is. Radiance is what happens when beauty becomes a devotion. When we are devoted to something, we give our all. We give our best, our highest way of being. If you're someone who is of any sort of religious faith, I think of like a devout Christian woman. There is such a high level of pouring into what she believes in. She gets up early, she reads her Bible, she prays, she just sows a different level of energy into that. And if you were to do those same things to yourself, just understand that that is going to be a radical shift in the level of nourishment that you would be receiving would be so bountiful that it would just rejuvenate everything in your life and even those around you. Like it would be noticed and it would be so effortless because of the devotion within yourself. When you are attuned to your senses, when you romanticize your rituals, and that is sometimes very difficult to do, we become a little bit snide, we become a bit cynical, and those are all indicators that we have disconnected from ourselves. When you stop rushing through your mornings and just start letting your reflection feel like a sacred reunion, you can make a gentle shift to reclaiming your presence. How do you return? You do stuff very small, subtle, soft. Instead of asking, how do I fix this? Try asking, how can I meet myself more deeply today in this moment? Pause when you're applying your serums. Inhale, breathe in deeply when you're lighting a candle. Let your rituals be reminders, not obligations. And here's probably one of the most radical parts. What if you allowed your beauty rituals to be an act of spiritual reconnection, not self-correction? So often when we interact with beauty, beauty has gotten a very ugly filter, which is ironic because there is this sense of lack that comes from acknowledging beauty rituals. I've seen it in many different communities and age groups, demographics, and for a woman to be highly devoted into her beauty, what makes her feel good, her pleasure, you can be fiercely met with attacks. You can be told that you are being arrogant, you are being self-centered, and instead of it being a reminder to others, it becomes a mark on you to be ridiculed. I've mentioned this before that if you are a woman who is working in a traditional corporate environment, you may work with other women. But just because they may be women, that does not mean they are aware. They're not in their divine, sacred femininity. And so you are operating with very callous, very sharp, very critical, impatient, tight women. And in the corporate sphere, I believe that oftentimes men get a very bad rap, honestly, for some, rightfully so. But I found that to the most harsh that one can experience in a corporate environment is actually not by men, but by other women, especially if you are a woman who is devout in your beauty. You do things, you wear things that bring you joy, you freshen up your makeup, you freshen up your fragrance for the day, throughout the day. You look meticulous in your fit. You have just a certain bounce, a certain je ne sais quoi about you. Then if you also are extremely intelligent along with those attributes, that is almost like a deadly combination. And it can activate women and other people in general, but it definitely can activate other women for there to be a competition, or a way for them to feel more powerful, especially if they're in any type of position of power. Beauty and power are such dynamic separately and together. And unfortunately, when you are not embodied and you are in a feminine body frame and you've been given this power, you can become very menacing, very, very hypercritical, because there's been this competition, there's this sense of limited resources, and therefore you want to try to kind of show and prove that you're the boss. And unfortunately, that is what I believe unconsciously why many women today are disconnected from their beauty, because to some degree, it's almost as if being beautiful, being embodied is very scary. When we think about embodiment from a deep spiritual, emotional level, especially if you've experienced any sort of trauma, there is a true unconscious and sometimes conscious belief that it is not safe for me to be in my body. And so this is where you begin to see this dullness, the lack of radiance, the lack of the glow in you. That's when everything, you can do more and more and more. You may have the money to go and have extensive self-care routines, but at the end of the day, it does not make you feel wonderful. It does not have that same impact because of the lack of embodiment. And that is unfortunately a part of where we are in our era. Now, if this episode resonated with you, I want to invite you to go deeper. Your midlife is not a crisis. It is a calling. Look at it as a gift, a return to the woman you were always meant to be. And if you're ready to go beyond the surface, reconnect with your energy, to embody your feminine presence with softness and sacred support, I'd love to personally help you do that. You can book a glow up session. At this time, I'm doing these for a very limited time for free, to just be able to connect, and we can work together to make a personalized consultation where we can figure out some rituals that you can begin to implement, help refine your energy, and just align with your radiance. You can head over to my website and reserve your spot. And these sessions, again, are very much on a limited time basis. And if this episode touched you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, take 60 seconds to leave a quick review, and then share this with another woman who you believe needs to remember and needs this reminder that her beauty isn't gone. It's just waiting for her return. And until next time, stay soft, stay sacred, stay seen. This is Mystique Femininity.